Tools you'll need in this video is just a basic screwdriver, maybe a screw gun if you have one, Phillips screws. Certainly to make sure to have your shop vac attachments ready to get any dust, or if you have pets, any hair or anything like that. Okay, Four Boys Garage back here. Took the back off of the LG refrigerator. I think this is an LFX 25973ST. Tom. There's a lot of models affected by this problem. I think there's Samsungs, Kenmore Elites, obviously many of the LG models. And a lot of it boils down to their compressors, condensers, sealed system. And there was a class action lawsuit and people have had all kinds of problems, and we just fixed this thing about 6 to 8 months ago. I'm not really sure where we are. I just pulled the cover off to do a check and a clean, remove any dust, as you should regularly. We got a little bit of dust going on there, but right now she's purring like a kitten, as she should. And wanted to do this video because after much investigation, research, looking around, fixing, I had everything replaced. A new compressor, new condenser, done new fan motors, sensors, the evaporator, and I mean, this basically has been rebuilt top to bottom. Had a new control board in there for the compressor here. I think it has the update, or it's been flashed or something like that. I know you can use your old one. In some cases they'll send you a USB drive to flash it, but also did a relay and what is that, like a sensor in there, replaced that. And after it was all said and done, finally figured out what was really going on, because the problem worsened with time. It started out as a very slow leak. It needed charged about every 8 months. And I was able to do that because it's just R134. So it's pretty easy to do yourself. You can get that stuff at the auto store. And it went from 8 months to needing it at 6 months. And then from 6 months, it needed it again at 4 months. And then I think at 4 months, it went for a few weeks. And then I went to recharge it again, and it didn't even work for a day. It would not get cold. And that's basically the main problem that people have had with these, is it stops getting cold. There's no shortage of crooks out there trying to sell you new equipment, new parts, take your money and leave. I mean, the reviews are everywhere for appliance companies. These guys don't know what they're doing. They don't really care. They get your money and they leave. Well, I'm here to tell you the problem is not often, at least a major catastrophic problem, in any of these components. Now, I know that they had trouble with compressors in some cases. They had trouble with some condensers, popping some pinholes. This is not the cure-all, end-all for everything, but there's a lot of these refrigerators out there people are giving away, they've thrown money at, can't fix. Well, the problem is in here. This is just above all of the major components. It's where all of the lines head up to the evaporator from the condenser and compressor. And a part of the problem is I cut away the sheet metal using a putty knife and a hammer, just tapping it, starting with the corner, just tapping it right into the sheet metal. It popped through, and you just keep it at an angle, and you just keep tapping it, and it will cut like butter. And I got in here and I found corrosion the line had corroded through, and that's why it was losing charge. Now, there were some previous units of all types of brands that use these steel lines, and they can corrode. And that's exactly what happened here. Before I dug all this foam out, there was like a foam spacer to keep those two lines apart, and that's exactly what was touching there where it corroded. So I don't know if there was a buildup of condensation that rusted through that line, but basically it's not a replaceable line. It's a door warming loop that keeps this seal surface warm so that it doesn't sweat, or especially around the freezer and refrigerator door sections. I decided that I didn't really care that much about that. I had already replaced all these parts and was fortunate enough to have a very intelligent, or at least get a hold of and find a very intelligent refrigeration guy who was willing to make some of these repairs for me. He said we could not get in here to fix this, that the foam would never live through the heat. We'd just start a big fire. So what we decided to do was bypass it. And we came down here, and I can't really give you specific details on exactly how he determined which line should be removed from the loop. I think this is our patch section right here. We went directly from the condenser to this line, about a 3-inch piece we had to add on. I believe that this was the section that got bypassed that would have gone down here and connected to that. And I'd have to say that any good refrigeration person can figure this out, exactly which one to grab a hold of, but we didn't change the charge. These things have a weighed-in charge, and we put in the same amount. We did not deduct anything that might be lost in that line. And it's been working like a champ. Like I said, 6-8 months. Staying really nice and cold, no problems. I did replace all this stuff. All of the old components were actually fine. They always tested fine. The system really didn't lose much pressure. The seepage that we did lose upon high pressure testing was very likely from this problem. We couldn't isolate which component we thought it might be, so we did them all. And that was people before the gentleman who was actually able to make this final repair for me. But, you know, based on the research that I had done and come up with, there's people that talked about the possibility in other brands of these failures. There were some other brands that had warranties. They had, you know, solutions for them to pull a wire through this tubing that would be an electrical equivalent to warm the tube and warm the seal. I have not had any problems not having a warm seal. It's not been an issue. For us, we are in more of a northern climate, and I'd say we're heating maybe a solid 4 months, you know, 6 months total, including some milder months, and then run the air through the summer. It does get humid up here. I don't know what conditions you have to have for that to be a problem, but I didn't care enough. During all the COVID stuff, appliances were hard to come by, prices were unreal, and, you know, it was on the heels of that, or during that this thing originally was, you know, having problems. On the very heels of that is when we figured out we had the major failure here. But just wanted to kind of put this out there. I know it could be helpful for somebody to at least dig in here and look at this. You know, I had to make two. I think I started on this side, and then it wasn't enough, so I added another one. It was very, very easy to get this done. What I'm going to do is get some of the expanding foam in a can and kind of backfill this in. I don't even know if it needs to be. It's one of the things I wanted to look at, was to see if there was any moisture or sweat, and there actually is a little bit of moisture there. So I'm probably gonna need to get this filled in to prevent warmth from making it to some of these lines and causing some moisture. But just want to put this out there. We'll put some model numbers and things for the refrigerator. I want to make sure that I have that right. But it covers a lot of units. A lot of them had this problem. This is the updated compressor that requires the updated board. That's the part number there for it, and I can maybe slow that down so you can see it a little bit longer. But yeah, just wanted to throw that out there to maybe help anybody who could be having these troubles, or maybe anybody who finds one of these refrigerators for free in otherwise good shape, simple repair, you got a nice fridge. We were able to find this by pressure testing. Most of the stuff is done by vacuuming the system down and then letting it hold. But we applied pressure. We used nitrogen. I think it was about 100 psi of nitrogen, and we were actually able to hear the leak at that pressure. It sounded like it was coming up here from the evaporator, but we'd already replaced it, and I was confident that it was not that, based on my research and especially stumbling upon other brands and models totally unrelated to this having issues with their door warming loops. So I thought that was an important point I wanted to make. You may need to pressurize to at least have confidence that it might be up in here. You can hear it. You can put your ear where these lines go up and you can hear it. You just can't quite see it. You won't find it with soapy water. You won't, any dye leak detector. We did a whole bunch of different things that I was doing on my own, and then he was able to apply the 100 psi pressure. That's when we could actually hear. And the reason that we couldn't see or reach anything, even with a sniffer for refrigerant, was because it was buried in the foam. Now we filled it up. We're gonna let this set up, cut it off, fold that flap down. I still have my baggie taped here. This thing was apart so many times to hold my screws. Always had a baggie there when I needed it. Finally can take it down. Foam patched in. Close this thing up maybe for the last time, except for regular dustings. Again, 8 months, no problem. I think we got it.